people, and it's gone on far too long.
You know, in thinking about what to say tonight, I got a call this morning that kind of changed everything. Because I could get up here and I could talk about worrying about where my next meal was going to come from. I grew up that way. So did many of us. I can talk about the fact that the only suicidal thought I've ever had in my life was the night my mother thought I was asleep. But I heard her crying to God saying, I can't do this anymore. And I thought, well, if I could take one thing off her plate, and the only thing that stopped me was the fact that 15 years before, she buried my father, who had taken his own life. What I've learned through my experiences of poverty, of hunger, is a couple of things. One, we are more than the circumstances of our birth or the circumstances of our lowest moment. And that I was fortunate enough to live in a community not too far from here in Cynthiana that did not judge our family for what we did not have, but invested in our family for what we could be. Reverend Barber, as you know, some people used to call that community. But we have some politicians today who call it socialism and communism and liberalism and all of these other things. It just used to be community. And so in the limited time that I have, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about the millions of children across this country, the hundreds of thousands in this Commonwealth who unfortunately tonight are living the same experiences that I grew up with. And it's not an indictment of their mamas or their daddies or their grandparents. It's not an indictment of them. It is an indictment of this Commonwealth. It is an indictment of our country. And that every moment we let go and we let this keep going, we are robbing our children of the dignity of their childhood. I'll wrap up by sharing this quick story. You know, the moment I knew I was poor wasn't when I was hungry. It was the day my mother got sick, and she got so sick, but because we didn't have any money, she kept saying, I'm not going to the doctor, I'm not going to the doctor, I'm not going to the doctor. And finally, she wasn't moving. And so I called the only doctor that I knew would come to the house. And I said, Dr. Brzezinski, I need for you to come and see my mom. And he said, son, I would, but you know I'm a vet, right? And I said, yeah, but she's not listening to me. He got there, and 5 seconds in, he said, call the ambulance. Now, my mother is here tonight because that ambulance came. My mother is here tonight despite the fact that we didn't have health care. Now, let me tell the whole story. I still got grounded for calling the ambulance. But see, I serve a God that made the blind see, the lame walk, and raised a man from the dead, and never once asked if they were in his provider network. And if it's good enough to be in the scriptures, then we need to stop asking ourselves, what would Jesus do, and start doing what Jesus showed us to do. God bless you, and thank you so much.
Somebody's hurting our people, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't